This is Defiance Daily Dispatches for the Defiant. I am your host, Miles Taylor, and we're a couple of minutes late because we were backstage playing with sound effects and we got totally distracted. And sometimes, amidst a fascist takeover of your country, you have to have a little bit of fun. We did that. Fun's over. Angry time begins now. I'm just kidding. We're going to try to keep this as light as possible, but we are all about defiance. So we're also going to be talking today about the most recent stories of defiance. And you're not going to want to miss the first one tonight, folks. If you haven't been following along, one of the targets of Donald Trump's revenge machine, one of the most prominent targets, has decided to turn the tables on Donald Trump in extraordinary fashion. I just found out about this today. I am awed by it. It's a lesson that all of us should heed. That's going to be our first story up tonight. And then we'll be talking tonight about how the U.S. military and service members across the country and around the world are getting fed up with Donald Trump and the way he is mistreating them. We'll tell you about that in the most recent developments, including with the USS Abraham Lincoln. And then finally tonight, we're going to talk about this executive order that a lot of you are rightfully confused about and concerned about. This is Donald Trump's mail-in ballot executive order from March that went all the way up to the Supreme Court that could potentially affect your right to vote and give Donald Trump and future presidents the ability to reach into the mail and pick out the ballots they don't like and toss them out. We're going to tell you about that today. We're going to give you the latest on this voter suppression scheme, what it means, and we'll have a special guest with us to talk about that. Before we jump in, before I bring in my co-hosts for today, co-hosts plural, let me just say this. This is the most important moment that I have witnessed in my lifetime in our democracy. More important than the immediate post 9/11 period. More important than even the most dramatic moments of the first Trump administration. This, right now, this moment where our democracy is on the ballot in November. I would urge you, go sign up for our updates at defiance.org. You can sign up for our free updates about what's going on and what we are doing about it. And if you are so inspired and you want to help fund some of the efforts to protect our country against these abuses of power, become a member. Consider becoming a member of defiance.org. A number of different ways to do that. Check it out on our website. This is how we do everything we do to sue the administration in the courts, to protect the people who are sounding the alarm, to elevate episodes of Trump's corruption. All of it happens because of our members' crowdsourcing courage around this country. And I just want to applaud those Defiants. I have never been a part of something I am more proud of than this. I said that earlier today on a podcast with my friend Amy McGrath, and I stand by it. I'm very proud to work with you. I am in this fight with you until the end. So please join us if you have not already. All right, I said I'm with co-host today. I've got my Defiance.org co-founder Xander Schultz here. But this is one of those days where Maritza's also with us. It's the trifecta. It's the Three Musketeers. We're all together.
That's better than the last time you introduced this as the throuple.
No, don't remind me. That was a slip.
We're back.
All right, Three Musketeers. Let's go. Onward.
The Three Musketeers are back. And Xander's drinking espresso. It's a little bit late in the day to be drinking espresso. All right,
I got competent co-hosts. I can kind of kick back. This is a fun day for me.
I feel like Maritza's worried about this.
Worried about what?
Nah, just being with these two crazies. All right, I'm going to take us in, and I want to know what you both think about this story. I'm going to give you my opinion on this one, but I was floored today in our staff meeting when we talked about this story, which is an update on someone that our members at defiance.org have been standing behind since the beginning, and that is the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. A few weeks ago, you may remember that as part of our launch of what we call the Real Anti-Weaponization Fund, a fund that we have launched to help stand with people who are targets of Trump's revenge, we also asked Defiance members to send messages of support to some of the main targets of Donald Trump's ire, like actual messages to say, I am with you. Thank you for what you're doing. And one of those people we identified was Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve Board governor, who Donald Trump has been assiduously trying to fire from her job as part of his effort to take over the Fed, to take over effectively the money printing powers of government. And she has stood up against him. In fact, yesterday, Cook sent a message of her own back to the Trump administration that she is not going anywhere. Maritza, I assume you've seen the story. If not, I'm very excited to tell you the rest of it. Oh, you have? Okay.
I have seen, well, a little bit, but I want to hear everything you have to say because, I mean, again, this is just one of those stories where the rules apply to one set of people, but not to another. But go ahead, Miles.
No, that's absolutely right. And that's what this case is. Trump, for anyone who's not been following, he's been trying to fire Cook over allegations that she improperly listed two of her homes as her primary residence. Now, Cook fought him on this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which blocked Donald Trump from removing her from her job in June, but basically left a little pathway for him to try again. So the White House came back earlier this month and gave her 3 weeks to answer its latest case for firing her, right? They said, explain to us what this situation is with your mortgages. And refresher for everyone, this wasn't just some organic investigation that came up. Around the same time, U.S. senators, members of Congress, administration officials, New York Attorney General Letitia James, the Trump administration dredged up mortgage documents on all of these people and claimed they were engaged in mortgage fraud. In the case of Letitia James from New York, they basically claimed that a few $1,000s she saved over like the course of a decade from listing her property in one way on her mortgage forms was some sort of scam to defraud the American people, right? So these were bogus mortgage fraud claims dredged up to go after Trump's enemies. Lisa Cook was one of those targets, so he could fire her to take over the Federal Reserve. She did answer that question, asked by the White House. I was wondering if she was going to write back and respond to this letter from the White House about the allegations, and she did do that. And I'm going to tell you guys how this went down. Her attorney, Abby Lowell, who, full disclosure, has also represented me against the Trump administration and who is a partner in our effort to launch this real anti-weaponization fund, he submitted a formal 5-page response to the White House on behalf of Lisa Cook. In it, Lowell says Cook's designation of the Atlanta property as her primary residence was an entirely inadvertent oversight, not fraud. And then he turned Donald Trump's argument right back on him, saying in the letter, and I'm paraphrasing here, you want to talk about mortgage fraud? Let's talk about mortgage fraud. Take a look at your own people. Now, Maritza Zander, I have the breakdown. If you want to hear it, if you want to hear the people who have committed these same crimes that Lisa Cook committed in the Trump administration, I can run through those, unless you want me to skip it.
No.
No, we want to hear. We want to hear.
What do they call this? Spilling the tea?
Let us
spill the tea.
This is the list. I'll try to clip through this one quickly. In Lowell's letter, he mentions Scott Bessent. Lowell specifically cites a Bloomberg report finding Bessent had mortgages on 2 homes in 2007 and designated both of them as his primary residence. In fact, the report is literally titled, quote, Bessent, who is the Treasury Secretary, like Fed governor, made contradictory mortgage pledges. And then the parallels are outstanding. Like Cook, there was evidence that his lender knew that the property designation did not reflect how the homes would actually be used. Also, like Lisa Cook, this happened before he entered his current government position. Yet Trump has neither fired his Treasury Secretary, nor asked him to resign, nor asked the Justice Department to open an investigation into him. According to Lowell, Trump seemingly understands that this does not disqualify Bessent or undermine his, quote, competence and trustworthiness as a financial regulator. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should he be fired over it? Is this a double standard?
Said so earnestly.
Would you like me to lean into the screen now, Xander?
This is my favorite. Leaned In Maritza is my favorite influencer on Substack. Go ahead, Leaned In Maritza. Tell us what you feel.
Okay. So you covered this beautifully yesterday with Hunter Biden, which, by the way, I still have FOMO about. I cannot believe I wasn't here for that conversation. It was such a great conversation. But that aside, let's talk about the contradictions here, right? And like I said, the rules for one group of people and the rules for another. How much money did Donald Trump make his first year in his second term? Do we know?
I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot.
Or was it with
more than $2 billion? More than $2 billion. Now let's talk about
how many
Lisa
houses
Cook for a second.
How many?
Yeah.
That's like
how many houses? Let's talk about Lisa Cook for a second. Do you guys know how much money Lisa Cook would have saved by doing that? By how much she saved by declaring it, and what that not declaring it as declaring it as a primary residence. Do you know how much she saved?
How much?
It's estimated it would have been $19,000 over the lifetime of the loan.
This is the Trump administration's sweet spot, though, because Hunter's paintings were also like $50,000, and they were going after those.
Not a year, not over a month, over the lifetime of the loan. And you're gonna tell me again, Xander, we've talked about this. The people coming here, the immigrants and the migrants coming here for a better life, they're gonna do all of that work just to cast one illegal vote. That's why they're coming here. Lisa Cook is gonna put everything on the line to save $19,000. I don't buy it.
I have to say, there's a bigger hypocrisy here than just Scott.
$2 billion?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that. Okay. Which, by the way, I also have to say, in the conversation with Hunter yesterday, I loved how specific he was about how much money he made in those years. He was alleged to have been taking billions from foreign interests. He literally made clear, he's like, I made about $225,000 a year, which, if you want to know, is about the same salary as all 535 members of Congress. Right. So Hunter Biden, crazy, corrupt Hunter Biden, basically made the average salary for a senior public official in Washington, D.C., while he was apparently selling access to his father. Meanwhile, the Trump boys are making billions. Donald Trump himself is making billions. His unemployed son is now worth $150 million since he took office. Unemployed because of this crypto scheme that is taking advantage of the fact that Donald Trump is president. But I want to go back to the hypocrisy here, because Abby Lowell did something amazing in this letter. He didn't just talk about Scott Bessent. He brought up the hypocrisy with Donald Trump himself. He pointed out that ProPublica found that Trump also had 2 mortgages listing separate Florida homes as his, quote, principal residence. And guess what? He didn't even live in either of them. Both of them became rentals. But there was no finding of fraud. Donald Trump was not investigated by the federal government. Donald Trump was not fired from whatever job he was in at the time because of this. Why? Because the paperwork alone did not prove that he intended to deceive the lender. Now, when it comes to Donald Trump, probably there was evidence of that, but that's a separate conversation for a separate time, which is exactly why Abby Lowell is pointing at Lisa Cook and Donald Trump and showing, if you want to prove that she's trying to defraud lenders because she checked a box and saying, yeah, this is my house, you got to prove intent. You have to show that this is fraud. And then he throws in there, for good measure, Todd Carte Blanche, our U.S. Attorney General, who is also mentioned in the letter as listing an additional property that's not his primary residence as his primary residence. You guys, reeks of hypocrisy. I think I know what's going to happen next. The White House is still going to try to fire Lisa Cook. Of course they are, to take over the Fed. But what they've just done is her legal team has papered the record so that when this goes to the court, they will show, we answered these allegations, we answered them honestly, and we showed that there is a dual standard here. Why does that matter? Because if they can show the selective administration of justice, they can undermine this case and potentially prove, once again, that it is unconstitutional.
And then they
It's
can't do
almost-
it anymore. When is it settled that they can't do this anymore? How many times do we have to win on these grounds?
And then democracy is restored.
They're just going to keep throwing the spaghetti at the wall because every once in a while, one of those strings of spaghetti sticks. It's almost like if the president were going to issue an executive order trying to ban mail-in ballots, and then he went and voted by mail. It almost
that
would
never happen, Maritza.
They're not worried about the hypocrisy. They somewhat are right in assuming the people that they're doing this for are not going to hear us, right? The whole goal, like their bet, really Trump's bet since he started running as a politician, was on the siloed media ecosystem. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if he lied last week, as long as Fox News was with him and they wouldn't bring up the lie from last week that they even reported on. It's fine. He can keep going. It's an indictment on our information ecosystem now. I do have a picture of Abby Lowell here, though. This is Abby Lowell slaying Medusa via his bronze shield that he reflects back at them. No, that's Perseus. But same story. Feels it's of the same mythology.
Can someone clip this and share this with Abby? I hope he gets that segment. We'll share it with him. But what I will say is right when this story broke, I had just gotten an email back from Abby Lowell because we had shared with him the messages of support from Defiance.org members and the general public for his client, Lisa Cook. Those were provided to Lisa Cook, by the way. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people write in and cheer her on.
So
in
awesome.
Fight. I mean, the timing wasn't intentional. We didn't know that they were going to submit this letter to the White House, but it could not have happened at a more perfect time that they fought back against these crap charges and said Donald Trump himself is doing the same thing. And we had so many members reaching out to offer their encouragement. So thank you to everyone who wrote in and did that. I also would just say, and Maritza, maybe you can help shed a little light on this. It's worth focusing on what is actually happening here because it doesn't have anything to do with Lisa Cook. It doesn't really have anything to do with mortgage fraud. It doesn't have anything to do whatsoever with misconduct in her job. It has everything to do with the president wanting to be able to control an independent agency that Congress literally said should never be controlled by the White House because of how scary it would be to give the president the ability on his own to just raise interest rates or lower interest rates or do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and now he has Jerome Powell out of the way as Fed chair, and this is just one more person in the way. But let's talk about how really incredibly brave people like Jerome Powell and Lisa Cook are, right? It is not just going against the president of the United States, which is a huge, huge figurehead, right? Like the most powerful man in the world, but then the entire base of supporters. And we've seen this, the trolling, the doxing, everything that happens when he singles one person out. And so for them to say, no, we are not going to let this happen on our watch. We're not going anywhere. You're not going to get this as long as we're around. I mean, good on them. And again, they will go down in history as people who really stood in the way as, defenders of democracy and were really faces of the defiant.
Yeah. And just to as a reminder, I know I've shared this before, but here's the stakes on when the executive branch takes control of the money supply and cares more about short-term gains and making money free for folks and not about the underlying economics. This is Turkey 1 year after Erdogan claimed control of essentially their Fed. I think it says 61% in that graphic, but leaped to above 80% in the first year. So the stakes are incredibly high. There's a reason this separation was created, and we need to fight tooth and nail to make sure they remain separate.
Yeah, and if someone needs it, like the economics 101 or 100 level refresher, if the president lowers interest rates dramatically and makes it cheaper to take out loans, in mass, it takes your savings account and makes it worth less and less and less and less.
Right.
The $5,000 you have in your savings account buys less and less and less. That's what happens when inflation surges. This is why, I mean, like Xander said, it's not just Turkey. There's dozens of examples of autocrats coming into power and saying, I want to make people feel good about the economy.
Totally.
And so I'm going to make lending cheaper so it's easier to get a loan and people can buy more things. Every time. It's not like some of the time. Every time the consequence is inflation or hyperinflation, and it devastates working class people more than anyone. It makes your savings account worth shit.
Sure.
And it leads economies to spiral. That is the thing that economists across the country are warning about with Donald Trump trying to take over the Fed. It could be one of the most catastrophic things of all the things he's done in his 2 presidencies if he manages to succeed. So why does it matter that Lisa Cook is fighting back? It's not just to save her job. It is to save your bank account from a psychopath. Just remember that. Speaking of that psychopath, I want to take us into our second story of the day, friends, which is that
segue. That was a solid segue.
Okay. Trump continuing to push America's service members to their absolute limits. And you guys have seen this. He is showing no regard whatsoever for the situation he is putting U.S. service members into. And like Lisa Cook, many of them are starting to push back. Heading into the midterms, that I think could be a real problem for the president. But what does he expect when he is so cruel to them? Let me tell you some examples. We covered a few weeks back the story of a sailor aboard the USS Lincoln who jumped overboard as a result of the disgusting conditions and extreme stretch that ship has done at sea. By the way, that service member was just 19 years old. Well, we have an update on that sailor today. And unfortunately, it's not the one that we were hoping for. He did survive. He was medically evaluated. And now the Navy is punishing him. His wife says he spent 5 days at a naval hospital without seeing a psychiatrist or a therapist. He was then told to report back to work immediately, even though his psych eval wasn't until August 26th. Now he is facing disciplinary action. The Navy has accused him of malingering, which includes intentionally hurting yourself to avoid duty and being AWOL. He could lose half his pay because of this. His wife says he's gone to his chain of command and medical team several times to warn them about basically how he was feeling before he jumped overboard because of his struggles. This was her quote. Instead of giving them help, this is just another huge stressor. Military guidance says bona fide suicide attempts should not be charged, although apparently commanders still have discretion. Maritza, I want to go to you first. What do you make of all this? This was extraordinary to me when I saw the story.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And it seems like the more we find out about, our active service members who are on that aircraft carrier, the more disturbing it gets. And we are getting, little drips of information now out of families, family members of these service members. And it just gets worse and worse by the day. This is not taking care of our troops. This is not taking care of the men and women who are serving this country, who are saving this country, who are fighting for this country, who are putting their lives on the line for this country. And it's just shocking to me. And I just keep thinking back to when, I can't remember which reporter, one of the reporters during one of the White House scrums said, hey, we're hearing that family members of these sailors are really concerned. And he said, the president says, no, they're not. No, they're not. I mean, it's just so flippant, and it just shows just a complete lack of regard.
He said they weren't. He said they weren't deployed long enough. What was?
Yeah, that's right.
He did say what he said, but as he's boarding the plane, they say, this has been a long deployment. What do you think, Mr. President? He said, I don't think it's been long enough. How? Yeah. Incredibly inconsiderate. He's not just some guy. He's the commander in chief. Responding, right? He's at the top of the chain of command. Xander, I want to ask you about this second one because this
Xander is muted.
It's okay. I was going to interrupt.
I
was just going to say it's worth bringing up. Also, Trump avoided being deployed at all by faking an injury, right? Like, isn't that
Xander? If you've ever had bone spurs, If you've had bones
Well,
first,
and let me put on my, journalist hat for a second, folks, because we do not have solid information coming out of the Pentagon. We don't have a complete Pentagon press corps with hard passes. The press corps has been blocked at every turn. I mean, there's a whole slew of issues here, but bless the families, right, who are speaking out and who are saying, no, this is not our reality. This is not our reality, and people need to know what's happening because we need to take care of our service members, period, full stop, end of story.
Well, and there's an even bigger story, I think, not to undercut what happened to the 19-year-old sailor, what's still happening to that sailor. But, this is not just a one-off. And there was this MS Now story that, to me, really spelled out how bad it's getting in the military, right? This is an organization where, unlike civilian agencies, you don't see people going outside of the chain of command and sounding the alarm and going on Meet the Press, right? I mean, people know that they could be court-martialed for that. And so they're going through the internal processes. Well, MS Now spoke with 5 currently serving U.S. troops who are now trying to leave the military as conscientious, that's a hard one, objectors. An avenue, if you don't know about this, to seek honorable discharge or reassignment based on deeply held moral, ethical, or religious objections to participating in war. Among these 5 folks, the reasons that they gave include believing that they have been ordered to violate international law. Others have cited civilian deaths and deployments without a clear mission or strategy. One service member involved in the Iran war says they repeatedly raised concerns about strikes on civilian infrastructure. They were told the targets were, quote, dual use and therefore potentially lawful. But they came away believing that if Trump wants something struck, the lawyers will just find a way to say that that's okay. That's the quote from the service member. And no one in the chain of command, quote, ever stops and says no. By the way, conscientious objector applications have increased 6-fold since the Iran war began. The Center on Conscience and War said the rate is the highest it has seen in 25 years. Xander, I want to know what you make of this. And by the way, this is something that we were focused on as early as last year here at Defiance.
It makes me think, I'm constantly thinking about, like, how do we win in this moment? It makes me remember that our movement today should not repeat some of the mistakes made during the Vietnam anti-Vietnam movement, where soldiers were spit on. I think sometimes we overassume how complicit those individuals are, and we don't understand what they may or may not be doing behind the scenes to slow things down. I mean, Miles, you dealt with a version of this as a Trump staffer that no one understood, to the extent that you were working behind the scenes to slow the guy down and how strongly you were fighting against him. As I've profiled so many different anti-authoritarian movements, a big piece of the ultimate victory in those movements is the bridge building with the individuals that would typically be repressive forces, right? Military members, police, etc. And so it just keeps that top of mind. It's a reminder that we need to keep building military organizing infrastructure and keep building bridges to that community.
I hear your dog Kobe in the background, like cheering you on.
He fucking hates fascism.
Yeah,
he gets
he's
fired.
Dad, come on, Dad, tell him.
He's like, I'm trying to get him to relax. He doesn't like bridge building. He wants
our
to go
little guy Martini was just downstairs while I was talking. He was barking. He was like, "Yeah, go, Dad, stick it to him."
Martini, I'll get Dolly in here, and she'll join the party. Hey, I mean, I think of the 6 members of Congress, right, with the video, telling troops, don't follow unlawful orders, and they're investigated, they're dragged through the courts, they're all of this stuff, and look what's happening. This is the real concern. This is the absolute real concern, and these service members, again, they're signing up, they're risking their lives, they are putting their families through so much on these deployments, and they are stuck with not a lot of options here. And so I'm not really surprised by this. But one of the things they cited, Miles, not only targeting civilian infrastructure in Iran, but the boat strikes. And that is something that's been so disturbing to watch, because just with one order, the United States is killing how many people now? Hundreds of people on boats without
223 people without trial have been murdered by our government. I don't care if they're good people or bad people. That's not actually what the law tells you. I don't care if they were the worst, most vicious drug smugglers or little kids holding lollipops. You're not allowed to kill anyone without trial.
I care a little bit if they're little kids with lollipops. Just
I'm with Xander. I do care if they're kids
but I
with
hear you,
lollipops.
Miles.
I did. It would morally change the calculus, but in terms of the law, it doesn't change it. Like, just because there might be bad guys in there who are trying to sell drugs doesn't allow the president to kill them and just say, well, they were troops in a war. You don't just get to do that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is the type of thing that gets this is the type of thing that gets people who follow orders like this in prison. You've heard me say it again and again and again. Fast forward a couple of years, mark my words, there are going to be prosecutions over these illegal boat strikes. And you're just now seeing with this story and some others, the tip of the spear of people coming out and saying, we objected to this. We want to paper the record that we were not a part of this, because they see the writing on the wall, which, by the way, if you happen to be one of those people and you're listening to this, this is yet another area where we as an organization, as a nonprofit, have already invested. We raised tens of thousands of dollars last year for an effort to help members of the military sound the alarm if they have been told to carry out illegal orders, to specifically get the legal support they are allowed to get to figure out if they have been on the receiving end of an unlawful order. And you can still find resources at defiance.org/troops. If you or someone you know was in this position, and now there's thousands of service members who've been exposed to these potentially unlawful decisions, send them to defiance.org/troops. They can reach out confidentially to an organization that will provide them whistleblower support. It happens to be one of the top whistleblower support organizations in the United States of America that we have funded for this express purpose. That is why we are doing what we are doing. This matters, folks, and we have given people a pathway to go make those disclosures to Congress, to the public, and to the people. One more story on this subject before we move on and we go to our guest, and that is, I was so glad our producer flagged this. A whole bunch of stories this week. We're talking about members of the military defying Trump and speaking out, and that includes the National Guard. NPR had this story where they spoke with 3 current National Guard members who served in Donald Trump's Washington, D.C. deployment. All of these folks have more than a decade of service. One called that deployment into D.C. a, quote, authoritarian move. Another said that the National Guard is being, quote, exploited, asking, if it's safe now, then why are we still here? Patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. A third said he was, quote, embarrassed to have been involved and worries that Trump is turning the Guard into something Americans view as threatening. Interesting, because a federal judge had also ruled last year that the deployment was unconstitutional, the way that it had been carried out. Not to mention the rulings against Donald Trump and his administration for deploying troops in California, attempts to do so in other places around the country, including Chicago, and of course, the deployment in Washington, D.C. Glad to see U.S. service members speaking out. Proud of them. Like I said, this is just, I meant to say tip of the iceberg earlier, not tip of the spear. This is the tip of the iceberg, I think, of what we're going to see with service members coming forward. This is, the military is a segment of our society where it is literally harder for people to dissent openly, but we are now getting these little glimmers of people dissenting internally, and hopefully we see that pick up. I'm going to take us, you guys, into our final story tonight and bring our guest in. This is one that me and Maritza and Xander have been talking about for months, and I know it's a story that's top of mind for a lot of you all, and a source of confusion this week, because a lot happened when it came to mail-in voting. The Supreme Court ruled on Monday that the Trump administration could go forward with efforts to continue implementing this executive order that would basically allow the president to direct the Postal Service to snatch ballots out of the mail that it says should not be delivered. Now, ostensibly, the Trump administration says they're just trying to pluck out ballots of people who are non-citizens who are voting illegally. You can imagine a lot of people don't just want to trust Donald Trump's assurance that the only ballots he's going to pull out of the mail, if he is allowed to move forward with this, are non-citizen illegal ballots. What is to stop the president from pulling Xander's ballot out of the mail, Maurice's ballot, Miles's ballot? What is to stop him? There's very little oversight of what he wants to do. And you know what? That's a bureaucratic thing to say. It's fascist. This is obviously fascist. It was not envisioned in the Constitution that the president would have the power to pluck ballots out of the mail he didn't like. It's fascist. It's obviously unconstitutional. That's why plaintiffs sued the Trump administration. And by the way, one of the lead plaintiffs in that effort, one of the lead legal organizations, is led by Trevor Potter, a former top Republican appointed official in the federal government. Well, he's not the only one fighting back against this. By the way, full disclosure, that is another effort that Defiance.org has helped fund. We have supported the organizations financially that are suing the Trump administration over this. And now we have the postal workers standing up to say something about it as well. The news organization Notice spoke with post office officials who are warning that Trump's new mail-in ballot rules could create widespread errors. And you guys, when they say errors, we're not talking about just, someone like delivered it to the neighbor next door. We're talking about whether Americans who are eligible voters have their most fundamental right abrogated, whether or not their ballot gets delivered to either the ballot counting location or to their actual house. We're talking about whether people get to exercise their most fundamental democratic right. That's what we're talking about when we talk about potential errors. But election officials are already warning that the federal data in these databases is totally unreliable. And I will say, I can vouch for that, you guys. The database that the Trump administration is using, it's called the SAVE database. It was at my former department, the Department of Homeland Security. It was never designed for purging voters from the voter rolls. It was designed so that businesses could take an employee and run it against a federal database and say, hey, is this employee an illegal immigrant or are they a documented person? I need to know so I'm not breaking the law by hiring. That's why the database exists. And even then, it has errors. It's meant to be a tool to basically help employers start to figure out that process, not to determine whether or not someone gets to exercise their fundamental democratic rights. Unless you have a different opinion, Xander.
I do. I'm pro-Trump on this issue. It's fucking nonsense. And like as a reminder, this is a non-issue to begin with. Although I'll say, I was just looking at polling, 2/3 of Republicans still believe Biden lost the election. So we have, I'm using a big we here, have failed to socialize and educate on this front to wide swaths of Americans. 2/3, over 2/3
of Republicans
it's
or
up
MAGA?
to 70%. Republicans, all Republicans believe Biden lost the 2020 election. So just let you know, while we know it's about bullshit cover story, there's a lot of Americans who don't know that and could perceive this as a kind of valid cause for coming in and trying to disrupt.
You know what? Statistically, Xander, they could also be people affected because the U.S. Postal Service has only weeks before states begin mailing out ballots. And officials have said that if this all goes forward, there could be up to a 20 to 30% error rate on these ballot deliveries. A 35-year Postal Service executive put it this way, quote, "This is not something where you just flip the switch and turn it on. I do not know how the hell they are going to do it, except they are already trying to turn this on." Let's talk about that. I want to bring in our guest today who can talk about what happened this week with the Supreme Court, the back and forth on this issue, what's coming next. We have with us today Quentin Palfrey, who is the president of the Voter Protection Corps and a former Massachusetts Assistant Attorney General. Quentin, thank you for waiting in the green room, and we're delighted to have you with us tonight.
Thanks so much for having me back.
Tell me this, my friend. Just walk us through the confusion this week. We don't have to get into the legalese of the Supreme Court decision, but I think a lot of Americans were like, wait, what happened? Did the Supreme Court just say that the Trump administration is approved to go snatch ballots out of the mail?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important point to start with is that we have known for a long time that Trump was going to try and sow confusion and make it harder for folks to vote. And the good news is that on the whole, so far, he has failed. The Supreme Court, in a procedural move to this week, it blocked one of the injunctions that were in place against the crazy mail-in ballot executive order that Trump is trying to move forward. But
Oh no.
Oh, is he frozen?
No, it's just you, Xander.
Okay, sometimes I'm by myself over here. Ever freeze.
Oh no.
I think Quentin did freeze. Or like me, this
Or he's in
whole
shock.
scheme had made his whole operating system freeze.
While we see if we can get his connection back, I just had my son bring me this shirt. So I have this shirt that says "Don't
that's
mess
cool.
with the USPS." And
Grace has a good closet. She's got a lot of shirts. Like all brand.
I do. They're all from Ray Gun, which I love Ray Gun. So here, Quentin's back. We have him back.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think that the important thing is that this order can't go forward right now. The rules around mail-in balloting have not changed. And as you say, it is going to be nearly impossible for him to implement a crazy scheme between now and the election, which is less than 70 days away. The confusion is the point. And one of the things that we need to reinforce for folks is that mail-in balloting is safe. Most states have implemented this very effectively. More than a third of voters have voted by mail, including Donald Trump. And we need to get people to focus really not on the chaos and confusion, because the MAGA narrative is around the idea that there's this craziness, that there's this voter fraud, but instead to focus on the notion that these elections have been smooth, they have been free, they have been fair, there is not widespread fraud, and to really help focus on administering the elections going forward. So we have a lot of opportunities as nonprofit organizations to help people get involved right now. You know, the old adage, don't agonize, organize. I think we do need to avoid taking the cheese. We know that what Trump is trying to do is make this sound confusing. He's a master manipulator. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court has added to that confusion. But what folks need to do is be trained in anti-disinformation work. He's trying to set this narrative about the idea that this election is going to be unsafe or unfair. We know that that's in part to justify overreaches of the kind that he's repeatedly trying to do. But it's also partially in order to justify his loss if the elections do not go well for him and his party afterwards. We need to pre-butt that. We know that what he was doing with that press conference that he had about a month ago, the last time I was on here, he's trying to set the stage for this idea that there's widespread fraud. But this crazy set of things that he's going to try and do with the mail-in balloting, so far it's not working. Supreme Court's made it a lot more complicated, but we should really stay focused on trying to help get out voters and make sure that the elections are administered fairly.
Quentin, there's several phases to this misinformation, because I think he knows in some ways that these things are going to be struck down, but he's also laying the groundwork to claim, hey, I tried to get ahead of this. I knew this was going to be an issue and it was struck down, and it allows him to have like this next wave of BS. What'd you call it? Anti-disinformation work?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. Well,
that's a lot of words. I like pre-budding.
Yeah, pre-budding. Okay, well, look, I mean, we've been doing this voter protection effort for more than 20 years, where you recruit, train, and deploy a bunch of election day monitors, you set up hotlines, you litigate, and all of those are important tactics. But as voters are getting more and more of their information from digital sources, from social media, as we see, foreign actors trying to interfere in elections. We see tech titans spreading disinformation. We see the president of the United States spreading disinformation. We know that we need some new tactics, right? And some of that has to happen at scale. Some of that is that we need to put accurate narratives out there in the broader communication channels. But some of that should happen with local trusted communities. We need a part of the playbook in battleground states for the pro-democracy folks to be building up listening networks, building up trusted community members online, scouring social media, keeping your eye out on various kinds of social media and text chains and all of the ways that we get information, and then being really thoughtful about how we respond. So one of the things that I think folks tend to do in a well-meaning way is amplify, engage, and let the algorithms really continue to amplify the mis and disinformation. That's often the wrong strategy. Often the right strategy is to flood the zone with good information, is to help set the narrative in positive directions. We know that there's voter suppression tools that often are cynical in their nature. So, Democrats vote on Wednesday, Republicans vote on Tuesday. Misinformation about where polling places are, misinformation about unlawful citizen voting, and misinformation about ICE at the polls. Things that are designed to try to chill voting, chill turnout, make it harder for people to register, vote, and have their votes count. So one of the things that we're doing at Voter Protection Corps is training people on the ground in these neighborhoods, and we'll put in the chat some of the ways that you can get involved. We got a webinar on September 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Folks can get involved, can learn the best practices, can train other people in your organizations and in your communities about how to respond to mis and disinformation, how to be helpful in getting accurate information out, how to support good election administration, because we need to arm communities, trusted communities, language communities that are trusted to be able to respond and to sort of make sure that these strategies are not successful in chilling registration and voting.
Okay, so Quentin, I was showing a shirt. I have this shirt that says "Don't mess with the USPS."
Love it.
I actually covered the USPS in my journalism career for a long time. And here's the thing. I live in Montana where mail-in voting is a really big deal for a lot of people because it's rural. And we saw this going around in 2020. We saw the blue boxes being removed off of the streets without notice in many of these communities. That they put a stop to that. But I've covered these staffing shortages at the USPS. People are worried, and then we get all this confusion from the courts about whether or not the USPS can pull out ballots or not. So what would your message be to people who say, I just really don't feel good about voting by mail right now. I just don't trust it. Like, what would you say to them? What's the best way they can feel 100% secure in getting their ballot to their county elections office?
Yeah, well, I mean, folks who don't feel comfortable voting by mail, in every jurisdiction, there are other alternatives. The people can vote early, they can vote in person, and those are very safe and secure ways of voting. But I also want to make sure that this strategy of calling into question a very safe and very legitimate way of voting has made it a lot easier for a lot of people to vote, that we don't take the cheese to some extent. There's going to be a lot more that will happen in the courts between now and the November midterms. And my sense is that is all going to reinforce what we already know, which is what Trump is trying to do is unlawful. But I think in the meantime, these headlines are not helpful. And this question is already doing a voter suppressive work for the Trump administration. And I think in the pro-democracy sense, with a Voter Protection Corps, with Defiance, what we should be saying is don't get distracted. focus on what you can do, which is vote in lawful ways that we know are appropriate. Know that the 2025 elections were safe and secure. For the most part, the 2024 elections were also safe and secure. This notion of voter fraud is actually a made-up misinformation narrative, and the Postal Service is just a little piece of that. We know what happens when he doesn't get what he wants in elections. Our mob stormed to the Capitol to try and disrupt the peaceful transfer of power. And this is another strategy to try and make it harder for folks to register and vote, and for the election administration to go smoothly.
Quinn, I think you're right. And, I'll also say that the litigants from before, the states who are suing the Trump administration over this, of course, this week filed another lawsuit once this U.S. Postal Service rule was finalized. And one of the quotes, from the state's attorneys general behind this is that the rule violates the Constitution itself and federal statutes many times over. It displaces state laws adopted pursuant to each state's constitutional authority to administer elections, erects new USPS functions and ballot mail constraints that are inconsistent with governing statutes, flouts procedural requirements, violates the Privacy Act, and cannot be reconciled with federal voting rights law. They're going to be fighting back hard on this. The only thing I would push back on is I do think it's important, and I'm sure you and I agree on this, I do think it's important for voters to know the president is doing this. I mean, of course, there's a chance this gets to the Supreme Court and the court allows him to do this, but, even then, very hard to implement. The vast majority of people's mail-in ballots are going to be fine. But what is motivating, I think, to people is to know Donald Trump is literally trying to steal your vote in the most literal way an American president has tried to steal your vote. He's literally trying to put his fingers on your ballot and pluck your ballot from the mail if he wants to. Hypothetically, that's the type of power he would have here. And what I have seen in the crosstabs in the polls is rather than scare people away from voting, these threats to our fundamental democratic rights have created the most motivated midterm electorate in the political opposition that we have ever seen recorded in the modern era. More Democrats now say this is the most important midterm election in their lifetimes than has been recorded. And so I think people are seeing this guy's trying to take away my fundamental right. The way I fight it is to go exercise that right to defeat him and his pro-dictator movement. We're close to
Amen. Absolutely. And people should know that we have their back, that their groups and their attorneys general and their groups like Defiance and Voter Protection Corps and a number of other pro-democracy groups that have their back. We're going to fight back, and we're going to make sure that every voter can register, vote, and have their vote count. But folks should, the thing that you can do as a voter is to exercise your right to vote and vote out anti-democracy candidates. And if you want to do more, there are ways to work with good pro-democracy groups to volunteer to help with that effort.
No, Quentin, you need to be more shameless than that. Xander, tell the man what he needs to say.
I was just going to say, Quinn, it's not just there's groups, there's your group. You are doing more than just asking people to get involved. Right. You're actually hosting trainings, Zoom trainings, so people know exactly what to do, which is honestly so critical in this moment. Like, people are being told to engage and then being sent out into the great abyss, and so you're doing the opposite of that. What are you doing on your Zoom trainings? And
yeah, absolutely. So the Voter Protection Corps is doing two things that volunteers can plug into. We've got a training on September 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern that'll teach you how to do this anti-disinformation work, which is really a fancy way for saying learn how to do social media monitoring, learn how to work with your community to push back on this misinformation, help people get good information about voting. The other thing that you can do, you can come to voterprotection.corps.org and you can sign up to do Purge Chase, which is a way of getting in touch with voters in North Carolina and elsewhere who need to do some things to make sure that their registration is appropriate so that they can vote in November. As Trump and others are trying to push people off of the voter rolls, we're going to contact those voters and tell them what they need to do to stay on the rolls and have their votes count.
And Purge Chase just sounds really cool. We should just do that. Sorry, what were you going to say, Xander?
Yeah, we should just host a training on here. We should just do a special episode where we just
Yeah.
do it the whole way through. I think that'd be great.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Quentin,
That'd be great.
we got you signed up for September. Xander,
Sounds good. Invite me back. Let's do it.
All right.
Sounds great.
Quentin Palfrey, thank you for everything you do at Voter Protection Corps. Thank you for being with us, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
You guys, the final segment of today and every day is who is joining the Defiance? Who
is it?
Who is it?
Who is
I
it?
don't know. Who is it?
I'm gonna act like I don't have our script in front of us. Who is it, Miles?
Who is it? Well, I will tell you. Part of the Defiance, friends, is exercising our choice of consumption, where we choose to shop and eat, what we watch, all those things. And if you are part of the Defiance, friends, this is a restrictive muscle that you know well. A lot of us have been doing
Crazy line.
a lot of us have been resisting and unsubscribing. But this can be tough sometimes. Imagine the latest cultural hit has a MAGA actor in it.
Oh, Hollywood. Come on.
I know.
We used to have our back, Hollywood.
I know. But that's why it's all the sweeter when you find one of the biggest TV stars isn't about that life. That being the bigotry life. That's why one TikToker made it easier for us and compiled the receipts for one of them. Take a look.
If you ever want to know Sean Haddisy's politics, check his Twitter. I'm saying this with peace and love in my heart. Donald Trump is a first-rate dipshit. The only people I've seen in person that are actually voting for Trump are my parents, and they live on a completely different planet, Florida. Right now is the perfect time for all men, especially the super famous powerful ones, to shut up and give your ears to women, not your opinions. Disgruntled Trump supporters threatening to not watch my work, and I'm all like, get in line. People have been doing that for years. Our country's falling apart, but I'm still wonderful looking with great arm muscles. Sorry I've let you down by not constantly reminding you. Retweet if your president is racist. I'm losing Trump supporting followers, but I'm gaining a bunch of intelligent, culturally diverse, rational, evolved, open-minded folks. So when people tell me they won't watch my shows because I dislike Trump, do they know I get paid either way?
Oh, man. Sean Haddidy. So, by the way, if you don't know him, this is one of my favorite characters on The Pitt. If you are not watching HBO's The Pitt, I hate to encourage you to get another subscription, but it is worth subscribing to HBO just to binge the 2 seasons of that show, and then just leave HBO. Then you can come back, do what everyone else does. Go watch it for the awesome show. Come back when they've got another season, which they do starting in January. Defiance.org.
Nice.
Defiance Daily, sponsored by season 3 of The Pit. No, not actually true, but
That would be the
basically
dream.
one of their lead actors is totally on our side.
Well, they did that episode on ice too. Remember that? The Pit's kind of been awesome through and through. It's a great show, and they've been up on this for a while. I was kind of ready for heartbreak based on that lead-in. I'm very happy how that story.
Yeah,
shaped up.
I thought so too. I was ready for that too, but no, I mean, I haven't watched The Pit yet. It's on the list. I have a problem.
Live stream intervention for Maritza.
It's not a lack of wanting. It's just that I binge like nothing else in my life will get done if I start a show that is like so bingeable, and then I will be glued to my TV for days until it's over. So I haven't done it because I just haven't had time, but I want to see it.
Well, let me just say, this is one of those shows that you get so excited to evangelize about because you're certain that the person you're evangelizing to is going to get addicted. I have yet to recommend The Pit to someone who then came back and they were like, yeah, I didn't really get it. Yeah, I didn't really like it. Everyone loves it. You're gonna love it. They're deserving of all the accolades. And Noah Wiley, who's one of the creators, he's obviously the star. He's one of the writers. He's one of the executive producers. Has also been very defiant and forthright about threats to our democracy, and has teamed up with another organization that Defiance.org has supported, and that is the Committee for the First Amendment, Jane Fonda's organization standing up for free speech. So Noah Wiley has stood alongside them on a number of different matters. And now his co-star on the show, Sean Haddidy, has apparently also joined the Defiance. So welcome, good sir. We are even more delighted to watch season 3, which drops in January.
I guess that's a big
yeah.
bummer for the next Great American State Fair concerts because
It's
like,
lost another celebrity name.
They've lost another name that they can get. Kid Rock, you are going to be so booked. Like,
do you remember when it came out that the guy who was booking acts for Donald Trump's state fair in DC was named Jeff Epstein? Epstein is literally his name. This was the booker booking the acts. His name was Jeff Epstein. You can't make that stuff up.
Man, you know what was nice about the pit? I'm not that this is now what we're doing. It's just like talking TV, but it kind of brought back the weekly cadence of shows because they don't do the season dump. It was fun to look forward to a show, you know, to have that experience with so many people. We've lost the monoculture in so many ways, for better or worse. Right?
HBO was like, we loved that experience too. As you paying
for like 3 months.
They're like, it was a great experience for us. But honestly, these streamers, they should realize that. Look, the old model of getting a show a week, it's what's going to keep us addicted to your content and, you know, to your platform. I'm willing to pay HBO all year round instead of canceling, canceling if they give me the pit every single
They're
week.
on to you now, Miles. Like, they're like, don't give them
Let
any
it
more
be heard,
discounts.
HBO.
I'm also learning Miles is way more financially responsible than me.
Well, me too.
I just let them all ride.
I'm like, yeah, like let's just get all the subscriptions and.
Defiance.org members should know Xander Schultz. He is the leanest person in our organization because he always basically pays for everything himself. We're going to go launch a website in an effort. Xander's like, I don't know. I bought the website for the organization. I paid for it. We'll figure it out at some point. Xander has donated a lot to the cause. Listen, folks, before we wrap for the day, I want to see, do we have any promotions on the Anthill, Xander? Are any Defiance.org members to be lauded for spreading?
We got two. Sandra Watt and Liz B. Thank you. You have brought a friend, a family member, we don't know who it was, into the Defiance. Thank you. You have achieved the rank of Scout. We salute you. This is how the Defiance grows. If you want to earn a promotion, go to defiance.news/leaderboard. Your referral code is right there. And I think you should send it out to like a high school friend, someone you haven't talked to in a while. It's like, what's going on with you? Have you noticed our country's disintegrating? You should help out.
Yeah, what are you doing?
You can copy that message. It's a hell of an opener to the conversation.
I like it.
We are in overtime now, but Defiance.org members, we have coffee tomorrow. We have our weekly coffee on Friday. Also, Maritza, I don't think you've joined me and Xander for weekly coffee. If you just want to chill, we just literally pop in and we just jam. Wait, did you do it last week? And I didn't know.
No, I haven't, and that's because I haven't been invited. So
Maritza's got a little bit
invitation coffee.
A little bit of the yaya. Maritza's Greek. Maritza's from the same island as my wife, and the yayas in Greece can throw on the guilt. And Maritza's got a little bit of that in her soul. Yeah, and it's my send off.
I can't show up to a party I'm not invited to. So you gotta invite me, and I'll show up.
And it's my send off. I'm gone for a week after that, gang. So come to the coffee. It's my final combo until I'm out of here.
It is, yeah. Xander's send off 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We do for Defiance.org members. We do a weekly coffee on Substack over at Defiance.news. Head over there and join us. And we're going to take questions the entire time tomorrow. It's going to be all the questions, every question. And damn it, will someone accept my prompt here? Ask anything. I mean, I want the political questions.
Anything.
What's really been, getting your goat? What do you really want an answer to from me or Xander or hopefully Maritza if she'll join us at 2 p.m. Eastern? Yeah, she's going to get an invite on Substack.
I'll do it.
We want those questions. We want your hard questions. There's nothing you can say that we can't answer. I don't know. That's a big promise. But join us tomorrow for coffee so we can answer the questions that have built up this week. And then tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, we have our Friday episode, as always, with MAGA losses of the week. And Maritza, are you going to be with us for that too?
I am.
Woo!
I am.
Maritza week. It's Maritza week. We also will have the great Glenn Kirshner with us tomorrow, one of our legal eagles and host of the Justice Matters podcast. Glenn will be with us. It's going to be a great episode. You do not want to miss
little gavel. Justice Matters gavel. I have it right here on my desk.
I think
with the swag queen.
You Xander in episodes brings up memes. For every story, Maritza whips out a piece of swag. Look, everyone's
all right, Miles, get us out of here.
All right, folks. Look, between now and tomorrow, I've got an important reminder for you, which is this: stay loud, stay brave, and stay together. We'll see you tomorrow.